are live. I was not knowing if our intro was playing or not. I could not tell. It was just a black screen. I was like, oh boy, this could be a problem. But we are live. Do or die, baby. Playoff edition, week 15. The waivers are hot and heavy. It's a dumpster fire out there, but there are guys you can get. If you are in need of players or if you want to take a shot at certain guys, there are some potential pathways to finding relevant players at this time of year because, like we saw in multiple backfields last week, guys just went down and guys stepped up. So it's myself and Jeremy, hashtag Patrick Taylor doing it.
Darn right.
Yes, it is. How you doing today, Jeremy?
Yeah, man, I'm good. I am not doing the Patrick Taylor this week. I'm a little scared about what else is happening there, including it being San Francisco, and you never know what the hell Kyle Shanahan's going to do. But yeah, look, we had some victories, we had some defeats in week 14, but we roll on. We make sure we get into the playoffs. I was showing Jesse a league I'm in where I was second in points, first in points again. I finished ninth out of 10 teams. So I got the number 2 pick. But what the hell? Like, this is like a microcosm of my season, man. Ugh.
Yeah, those are the worst leagues, and where you almost want to go against just scoring and not play teams because those teams feel cursed, right? No matter what you do, you continue to score. Yeah, I have a team that was like second in points scored in the league, and they're the 8 seed. I barely stuck at the 8 seed because every week I'm getting murdered by no other team, and I'm like, I don't know what to do, man. I'm putting up a good team here, second in points again. I'm like, yeah, 11. So now we just got to make a dramatic comeback from the 8 seed and take down all the top teams and just put it together. Probably won't happen, but that's what we're here talking about, right? That's what we're here for. Okay, so this week in particular, the biggest position and the most impactful position is running back. By far the most guys available are running back. That's the one we really want to focus on. We'll talk about quarterbacks, wide receivers, tight ends, and all that, but all the bread and butter is running backs.
Yeah.
Off the gate. Let's go with it, Jason. Thank you for joining us. Welcome into the show. Would you drop Isaiah Davis for McCormack, Patrick Taylor, or hold? Now, this is an interesting decision because of who you have. You have Alvin Kamara, who is in a much worse situation all of a sudden. Bucky's dealing with an injury. Brees is out. So you have Tyrone Tracy and Rico Dowdle as your 2 bell cows. That's how you're going into the playoffs. And then you have Braylon. Like, personally, for me, I don't mind splitting this up into 2 backfields for McCormack because you have Braylon Allen, right? I would take the 2 shots to have the Raiders backfield and the Jets because we have no idea how the Jets backfield is going to go. I think it's like Braylon Allen's playing a role. Isaiah Davis is playing a role. They play a little bit similar. Like, it was split across the board. Whereas McCormack has a role, but McCormack also has guys coming in. But my thought process is he looks like the best running back on the field. Like, he's the best running back they have. He showed the most. You look at all the efficiency metrics. McCormack's here. Like, Zamir White, Alexander Madison are bottom tier in efficiency metrics this season. And then, there's Amir Abdullah. So, personally, I don't mind taking the shot on McCormack because he would be my top guy to grab this week. Where do you stand between these 2 guys, Jeremy? Are you going to hold Isaiah Davis and contain the Jets backfield, or are you going to go for McCormack?
Yeah, I agree with you on McCormack, and here's why. Out of Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis, like you said, they split pretty much 50-50 down the middle last week. Isaiah Davis looked more explosive. He looked the part. He's the big name that people are going to be chasing this week. Partially because a fair amount of people already have Braylon Allen and they had him stashed, and they were disappointed as a result of that stash and their expectations. I want Braylon Allen over Isaiah Davis rest of season. I think it'll be close. You can play both of these guys in a pinch if you need to, especially this week at it might be at home actually against the Jaguars, but it's Jags, Rams, and Bills. I'm not afraid of any of those matchups, but I really like the Jags and Bills matchups for running backs, and I really like them for Braylon Allen, but I think you can play them both. My thought process is if they're really going to split down the middle, I want the guy who's going 50-50 plus goal line. That has to be Braylon Allen. He's just so much bigger. He's done that over Brees Hall at times during the season. So the Jets, if they continue to be a functional offense, they should at the very least do that this week against Jacksonville. Even though the defense has been a little bit improved, I want Allen. Isaiah Davis, if you're going to drop him and take the shot on McCormack, I don't mind it. The problem with Sincere McCormack, this is half PPR in his 3 games played. Of course, the snaps have been rising from 10 to 38 to 61, but only 3.3, 7.5, and 9.9 half PPR points for him. Now, they get Atlanta this week. Again, it's fine. They get Jacksonville and then New Orleans. Those are better matchups, especially Jacksonville, but I don't really see a big difference between Isaiah Davis and McCormack, except for the fact that I would expect Zamir White and or Alexander Madison back at some point. We really just haven't heard what's going on with these guys. There's no reason to bring Alexander Madison back, but Zamir White, you should at least just give him one more chance and see what's going on in this lost season. With Breece Hall, the Jets kind of probably want him out there, but I think he should be shut down for the season. So I don't see a big difference. Patrick Taylor, I don't love it because, maybe it's 1 week while Garendo gets healthy on the short week because they play on Thursday. But at the same time, you got Izzy Abanikanda, who's going to be more integrated and involved. And you got, Keyshawn Vaughn?
Yeah.
And you got Keyshawn Vaughn, who has proven that he's at least good enough to beat out Patrick Taylor, in the NFL. And he could do that. So I don't see Patrick Taylor overtaking this backfield. And if anything, it probably just means more Debo and or passing game. So Isaiah Davis or McCormack, whatever you want.
Yeah, the whole thing, we saw Debo play a bigger role in the rushing game last week because of that. But it was Garendo's backfield. He was dominating touches. Obviously, there's a pathway for Izzy Abanikanda, but the dude's just not that good. The whole thing about this scheme, though, is this scheme can accentuate his skill set, which is he's huge and he's fast. That's the two things he offers. Similar to kind of Garendo. Garendo's a big back who's fast. Abanikanda is very similar. Garendo's just a better version of that, I think. So we're not going to know probably because they played on Thursday, right? We're not going to know until Thursday with Garendo. And that's the biggest issue. So if you want to if you want to grab Patrick Taylor, I get it. But the thing is, are you going to play Patrick Taylor over the guys you have here? That's the upside shot you have to ask yourself, right? Because he's going to be splitting. We have no idea how much work he's going to see. Now the offense is better in San Francisco, so you could go with that. But yeah, I Will McCormack. He saw 81% of the running back touches last week. His 61% of snaps. He has that role entrenched right now, and we've seen them go hot hand approach when they did this last year, right? Where they were riding out of the backfield with, I can't remember who it was. It was Zamir White towards the end of the season. They just gave him the runway and let him go with that. Yeah. So if they trust McCormack, which looks like he does, because the 2 games he's been on the field, he's giving them more. You watch him on your eyes tell you this guy's just better doing right. So we'll see. I don't know. I think McCormack's the best one to go for. But yeah, you could go for any of these guys, honestly. I think you just make your claim on whichever guy you want. For me, it's McCormack. If you want to go Davis, I get it too. There's a lot of uncertainty with the running backs this week. And we talk about running backs, there's a ton of options. You can get into Kamani Vidal. You can get into Sean Tucker, who we'll talk about. We talked about, I'm just saying, attack the Jets backfield, attack the freaking, all of these backfields with multiple situations because we just don't know with the 49ers. So, yeah, that's kind of my thought process. All right, so you want to hit these running backs? You want to hit wide receivers? You want to hit quarterbacks? All right, let's do the running backs.
Let's do RBs, yeah.
Let's do these big boys. Yes, running backs. Important for everybody because we all need them. So if you still don't have a Breece, if you're losing other guys with injuries, or if you have guys that are just not living up to expectations, which this is Alvin Kamara, teams are in a lot of flux. And you might have these high-end teams, which we talk about. Breece, not necessarily, but the Alvin Kamara teams in particular, they're taking a hit down. So you might have a shot if you're 6 seed going up against the 1, or you're the 8 seed going against the 1. You might have a shot this week if you hit right on the right guy. So we've already kind of talked about Sim McCormack. I think he's the most safe play you could go with. But there's a couple other guys. These guys are all less than 50% roster in sleeper leagues. I think Sean Tucker is really interesting due to the uncertainty with Bucky. It's a bad matchup with the Chargers, so I'm not really going out of my way to target him. But if you want to roster him, because if this Bucky injury lingers for a long period of time, they get Dallas and Carolina 2 weeks after that. I think that's a hell of a stash because he could have a really good game in those 2 weeks. We talked about San Francisco. I think just target either one of these guys you like. If it's Abanikanda, if you like Taylor. Because if Garendo doesn't go, they're going to split that workload more than likely, and it's a good enough matchup where they can get you there. The Rams, you could be had against them. I think Davis is a good stash. Jalen Wright, because Mostert's injured. They're going up against Houston. You could do that. Now, you could talk about Jaleel McLaughlin if you want to do that as well. But I think the other really guy is Kamani Vidal. He saw 53% of snaps. Now they're playing against Tampa Bay. I don't know how well that's going to work out, but he was on the field a lot. And then we talk about Isaiah Davis. Are there any guys in particular that really stand out to you in this range of less than 50% roster? Because I kind of combine it all into one thing. Who are the guys you're actively targeting? And then the guys that you're kind of stashing for week 16, week 17, if you get there.
Yeah, for me, it's Izzy over Patrick Taylor. He's definitely a stash, and I'm not going to pick him up and play him this week. He's more of a, if I have a bye or if I'm comfortable, I'm going to take my shot on him just to see if he can get that level of workload over the last 2 weeks. Maybe Garendo comes back, but who knows? He's a lottery ticket, I think. The other 2 guys you mentioned, McLaughlin, he saw 14 rushes. I know this has been a hot hand approach, but 14 carries before the bye. After the bye, Sean Payton is going to have an idea of what he wants to do in this backfield, I think, and they go up against Indy. So it's not really a difficult defense. I know Javante's back there and catch passes, but I don't think it was ever going to be Estime. He's that hammer. You want somebody to take the load and be able to be a threat out of the backfield in the receiving game and in between the tackles. McLaughlin offers that. For some reason, Javante just hasn't been able to get it going. I don't know if it's the lack of explosiveness or what's happening in the passing game. Clearly, McLaughlin's a better receiver, but I'll take my shot on him because I just really like the way that this like lays out, especially Cincinnati in week 17. If McLaughlin, if we can trust him by week 17 to get 15 touches a game, he's somebody you can play in that matchup.
I think he's like a good guy to get that gives you kind of a decent floor. I worry about the ceiling a little bit just because of how they split that offense up, right? Like I think it's a little bit more uncertain, but like we're talking about guys in this range, 100%. I think he's a good guy to get. If you need to flex him, I think you could definitely flex him this week. Just be prepared. The floor is a little bit lower because Sean Payton does all this nonsense, right? Like the reason why Javonte Williams is on the field is because he's really good at pass protection. That's the entire reason he's on the field these days. Yeah. Because everything else just looks bad with him. He doesn't look explosive. He doesn't really do much what he used to do. So if Jaleel McLaughlin carves out that role a little bit more, then you get the true upside. I just don't know how realistic the upside is, but it's definitely there. If you want to shoot the moon, though, like you talked about, like the San Francisco or the Jets backfield, if Isaiah Davis is there, you could do it.
It's Isaiah Davis.
I think you could shoot the moon with Isaiah Davis and hope it works out because they're splitting work. If he could take more work, which is entirely possible because running back points are really up to the back of like the coaches how they want to scheme that, right? Like if they feel strong about Isaiah Davis, like sorry, Brandon, I'll sit the bench, like he's going in, right? It's much different than wide receiver. So I think all these guys are good options.
Yeah, and I'm dropping, on those other guys I mentioned, I'm not dropping all my fab. I'm dropping all of my fab on one of these Jets. If they are both available, I will drop them on both with the priority on Braylon over Davis, but Davis looks so damn good. Like, I'm not going to be upset if I get Isaiah Davis.
Yeah, like he looked explosive. He looked good in his role. He's not a small back. He's like 220 pounds. He's 6'1". He's a big guy too. It's just Braylon Allen's massive, so he looks smaller compared to Braylon Allen, right? So these are two big backs that are both athletic freaks. They're explosive. They give them a little something extra. Like obviously they're not Breece Hall. We're not talking about that, but Breece Hall is likely done for the year, so kind of is what it is, right? So in Dynasty, if you want to go make a trade for Breece Hall, you could probably go get a discount, particularly on contending teams that need production. So I would like flip it and look at those guys. As far as like guys you're willing to stash where it's like an injury upside scenario situation, like maybe something happens to James Cook, you get the Ray Davis scenario. This is what we just saw with Zach Charbonnet, right? Like Zach Charbonnet stepped into an incredible situation. It goes there. Is there anyone in particular that you're willing to kind of like these high priority handcuffs that are sitting there that you want to just stash on your bench? And if it hits right, maybe this week an injury happens or next week an injury happens, you have a guy that could really be a difference maker in your lineups?
Yeah, it's tough because a lot of those guys already hit, like you mentioned. I don't love the schedule for these guys, but Cam Akers has proven that he can do it in this backfield. If Aaron Jones were to go down, and Aaron Jones has been just unhealthy across the board, I think they probably lean into the pass a little bit more if Aaron Jones goes down. But I don't hate Cam Akers as a stash on a good offense. Blake Corum, if Blake Corum is still out there, I mean, you see the Kyron Williams role. Those TDs have regressed back for him, so it's nice to see him continue to get in the end zone recently. I'm not dying over Trey Benson, for example. I think it's James Conner is just leaps and bounds better at this point. I think it would probably be those two guys, and I would probably put Corum. I would definitely put Corum over Cam Akers. Jalen Wright, I mean, you might as well go out and spend some fab on him now. If Achane goes down, I mean, Wright has the skill set to do. He can be 80% Achane right now. So.
Yeah. And then I will say the other guy that we haven't really hit on is Tyler Algier. He's only rostered 36% of sleeper leagues.
True.
He had 9 rushing attempts. They're playing last week. He saw like 63% of snaps. He saw 18% of snaps. He had 63 yards. The thing about him is this week they're playing Vegas, and he's been the hammer back before where he's had 18, he's had 12, he's had 11 carries. I think if you're desperate and there's nobody really available and you like Algier staring you in the face if you want to put him as like a flex play, I think you could do it this week because he's good. If they get a big league, which I mean, Atlanta's offense has been all over the place. I don't think that's likely anymore, even though they're playing Vegas. But if it works out where the defense comes into play and they have an advantage, like they can lean on him. So I think you can talk yourself into Algier or Davis and like Davis in a decent matchup as well too. Just kind of like, fire those guys up. Just load your back of your roster with running backs. Like just target all the running backs because there's going to be an injury the next couple of weeks where somebody's playing the championship game that we have no idea that should be playing, and they're probably going to put up double-digit points for you. Like that's how it's going to happen. It's just that's fantasy football, man.
We can't not mention Tajay Spears. He's not getting the work, but he is this handcuff. Cincinnati, Indy, Jacksonville is that schedule. We love Tony Pollard because of this schedule. If Tony Pollard goes down with injury, it's Tajay and literally no one else in that backfield. So Tajay will get the Tony Pollard workload in those matchups. Go ahead and get Tajay stashed now.
My juices are flowing thinking about that. Like I don't want Pollard to get hurt, but I'm just saying, Tajay, finally right. You were wrong 50 times. You finally be right on that one. Myself. All right. So thank you all for joining us. We're almost pushing an hour, and that's a long waiver wire episode because there's not that many guys available. So we are shooting the shit quite well this day. Yeah, we're going to jump into rankings. Try to do it tomorrow. If not, we'll release them on Thursday. We'll go through the week. You know what it is at this point. We have pretty much solidified what we're doing each every week. Saturday's a roundtable, and then join us for the Sit Start playoff edition on Sunday. So, make or break. Don't hold it against us if we get it wrong. We're going to get some wrong, but, we will try to do it as many right as possible. If I'm hitting 60%, I'll call it a win. I know that doesn't sound great, but that's like a win, right? So, for myself, for Jeremy, for SC, and for Aaron, we are the FFU. And take care. Go get those waiver wire guys and win your week 15. March on to the playoffs. See ya, folks. Listen up, closely let the game